Before you are a specific person with a name and a history, there is a bare, unshaped sense of existence, a blank state of simply knowing I am. That exact same foundational awareness is present in every sentient creature. It does not alter its composition from species to species. This animation shows a single glowing central node representing that I am state. Notice how the external silhouettes, whether a tiny insect, a human being, or a towering structure, fluctuate wildly in scale. Through all these variations, the core node remains perfectly static and unchanged. Yet an unbroken, infinite awareness faces a mechanical problem. On its own, it is entirely formless, which means it is our illusions of scale. The core substance driving a microscopic worm and a supreme being is mathematically identical. For that formless awareness to appear in reality, it requires a structural base to hold it. That physical matrix can take on any biological shape. The specific construct doesn't matter to the awareness itself. A glowing particle of consciousness hovers above an empty geometric grid. It docks into a precise slot, lighting up the network. But as the physical grid breaks apart, the slot fails and the particle vanishes. It manifests only as long as the body endures. Without this temporary pairing of a biological shell and the I am state, there is no capacity to acquire information or experience the world. The physical body is the absolute prerequisite engine for existence. Without it, the universe remains unperceived. Once the physical matrix is activated, the initial animating force that begins flowing through it is the vital breath, or prana. The mechanical movement of this breath within the body generates the very first internal vibration. That vibration is a thought. This flowchart tracks that physical chain reaction. A continuous wave pulse of breath moves inward, triggering a sharp spark of thought. That internal spark then breaches the boundary of the mind, radiating outward as expanding concentric sound waves, the spoken word. Uttering a word allows isolated physical forms to interact, creating the basis for naming and identifying every separate object in the environment. From those assigned names, human civilization builds complex systems of exchange, commerce, and constant activity, an endless cycle of busyness. The overwhelming noise of modern society is the cascading mathematical result of breath converting into sound. Humans possess a deep mechanical compulsion to label their surroundings, ensuring no phenomenon escapes identification. That naming principle is applied so rigorously that we even assigned a specific word to the absolute, formless source of reality itself, calling it God. To navigate a landscape cluttered by countless labels, practitioners utilize a discipline known as sadhana. In the early stages of spiritual development, the most effective tool isn't a complex philosophy, but the repetitive mechanical action of speaking a single divine name. Repeating that one specific word creates an exclusive focal point for the mind. It physically drowns out the endless external noise generated by all other language. Since human reality is constructed from millions of words, isolating one ultimate word acts as an acoustic jammer, cutting the signal into absolute silence. If you trace the chain back to its origin, there is no logical explanation or identifiable reason for why the initial seed of consciousness ever appeared. But the rule of its existence is clear. Once the I am is present, it is incapable of standing still. Consciousness is identical to continuous movement. These intersecting rings represent the gunas, nature's three forces. They rotate and overlap, forming geometric patterns. In the Rati, Maharaj calls this relentless movement gungun, a continuous humming. Accelerating into a high-frequency vibration, abstract nodes of human action rapidly bounce off the intersections, animating the physical form. The actions you take are driven by the specific biological form you inhabit, which is fueled by the food you consume. Your complex behaviors are simply the mathematical permutations of these three forces interacting. True clarity comes from abandoning the search for a grand cosmic why and recognizing that all human activity is simply the mechanical, vibrating hum of the universe working through a temporary shell.